My husband cheated with my son's 18-year-old girlfriend, and I was shocked to discover all of his dirty secrets. My son Brandon brought home this girl Lily right after his high school graduation. She was 18, just graduated too, and honestly seemed like a sweet kid. Long brown hair, always polite, helped clean up after dinner without being asked. Brandon was absolutely head over heels for this girl. They'd been dating for about 4 months when she started coming around more often. My husband Greg seemed to really like her too, which made me happy because he usually didn't care much about Brandon's friends. He'd ask Lily about her college plans, joke around with her during family dinners, and even helped her fix her car once when it broke down in our driveway. I thought it was nice that Greg was being a good father figure and making Brandon's girlfriend feel welcome. But then I started noticing weird little things. Greg would come home from work later than usual, always with some excuse about traffic or a last-minute meeting. He started dressing better too, wearing cologne on random Tuesday afternoons when he'd never cared about that stuff before. One Thursday in July, Brandon mentioned he was going to visit his buddy Aaron for the weekend. He asked if Lily could stay at our place while he was gone because her apartment's air conditioning was broken and it was supposed to hit 98 degrees. I said sure, thinking she'd sleep in the guest room and we'd barely see her. That Friday night, I had to work a double shift at the hospital. I'm a nurse and someone called in sick, so I didn't get home until almost 2 in the morning. I was exhausted, kicked off my shoes in the mudroom, and walked toward the kitchen to grab some water. That's when I heard voices coming from Greg's home office. The door was cracked open and I could see the lamp was on. I figured Greg was on a late work call or something, but then I heard Lily's laugh. Not a normal laugh, a flirty giggle. My stomach dropped. I stood there in the dark hallway frozen, listening. Greg was telling her how beautiful she looked and how he couldn't stop thinking about her all day. Lily said she felt the same way and that Brandon was sweet but too immature for her. She said Greg understood her better. I felt like I was going to throw up. My husband was flirting with our son's girlfriend in our house while Brandon was 2 hours away visiting his friend. I pushed the door open and they both jumped apart like they'd been electrocuted. Lily was sitting on Greg's desk wearing pajama shorts and a tank top. Greg's face went completely white. I didn't yell or scream. I just asked Lily to pack her things and leave immediately. She started crying and apologizing, saying it just happened and she didn't mean to hurt anyone. I told her she had 10 minutes to get out of my house or I'd call the cops for trespassing. Greg tried to explain, reaching for my arm, but I pulled away. Once Lily left, I sat Greg down and demanded the truth. How long had this been going on? He finally admitted they'd been texting for 6 weeks and had hooked up twice when Brandon was at work. But here's where it gets even worse. I grabbed his phone off the desk and started scrolling. He tried to stop me, but I wasn't having it. I found texts with Lily that made me sick. But I also found texts with 2 other women I'd never heard of. Women he'd apparently been messaging for months with the same kind of flirty garbage he'd been sending Lily. One of them was a woman named Jessica from his office. The other was someone named Amanda he'd met at a bar downtown. I scrolled back further and found out he'd been meeting up with Amanda since March, meeting her during his lunch breaks and after work. Those late nights weren't traffic, they were hotel rooms. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself. Greg just sat there with his head in his hands, not even trying to deny it anymore. By 4 in the morning, I'd packed 2 suitcases of his clothes and told him to get out. He kept saying he'd go to therapy, that he'd fix this, that he loved me, but I was done. I called Brandon the next morning and told him everything. He drove home immediately and broke down crying when I showed him the messages between Greg and Lily. Brandon felt betrayed by both his dad and his girlfriend in the worst possible way. Greg moved in with his brother and I filed for divorce 2 weeks later. The lawyer had a field day with all those screenshots. Brandon cut off all contact with his dad and hasn't spoken to him since. Lily tried reaching out to apologize, but Brandon blocked her on everything. The whole thing destroyed our family. I found out later from Jessica at Greg's office that he'd been doing this kind of thing for years. Multiple affairs, always with younger women, always lying about working late. I'd been completely blind to it. Now I'm rebuilding my life without him, and honestly, I'm better off. Brandon moved back home for a while to help with bills, and we've gotten closer through this whole mess.